what I want to talk about is what you're seeing on post. If you're familiar with the Specker area, you see this enormous building, 3 buildings getting constructed. Not to mention the battalion headquarters that's getting built right next to it. That's what it does here. It's actually started to go blue, and I think at one point it was actually looking pink. And my wife was really getting into it. It'd be great to have a pink building on Fort Leonard Wood. But we sort of squashed it because we started covering it up with brick, which is a good thing. But these are advanced individual training. So on one side, and here's the Specker Barracks, which is amazing because these are 3 stories, and these are 3 stories, but these are towering over them. So I guess there's a lot of headspace because of the growth. These were built in the caveman era, so everybody was shorter. But now people are taller, so we had to raise the ceilings up a little bit. So anyways, these AIT complexes, you've got a dining facility, a brand new dining facility being built in that footprint, a battalion headquarters, and the advanced individual training, AIT, buildings that are going in there. Now, so here's the caveman dwellers here, and then you got the new facilities on one side, and then when they're built, we'll start phase 2, which is on the other side, where all you see the parking area going in there. We're going to build another strip of AIT barracks going in right there. So a huge part right there, and that's what these beautiful facilities will look like. Of course, the MPs live the good life. A 787 MP battalion with the Starship that they've had. And now we've got an engineer battalion in the new Starship that we just opened, the double DFAC, and then, which is, thank God, is finally being opened here in the not-too-distant future. It was on the Iraqi transition plan, which it was supposed to be open like last year. And if you're familiar with Iraq, plans never go according to plan. It's usually a year or 2 years behind schedule. So we met that timeline. So the double DFAC is going to be opening up. And of course, on the other side is the 3rd Starship that's going to be opening up. And that's why we got a double DFAC. Instead of having 1 DFAC for each Starship, somebody got a really bright idea. Let's put a double DFAC between those 2 Starships and service both of them. It's going to be an amazing facility when it's up and running. And then we've got 2 more Starships on the way. So you talk about what this place is going to look like. It's quite amazing. Total of 5. And as you look on the out years, a total of 9 Starships are going to be built. But I got to tell you, as you start looking down the road on military construction and budgets for the future, that's starting to dry up. So even though we're looking at 9 Starships, probably once we get these 5 Starships built, that might be it for a while, to be perfectly honest with you. But we have also what's left of these, what we fondly, affectionately call these things rolling pins because they look like a bowling alley. But these things, of course, they're going through a modernization. We call them T-BUP, in which we're pushing out the outsides, putting some classrooms inside, creating a little bit more space. And these were every one of these will be modernized to a T-BUP configuration. But I got to tell you, these T-BUPs will probably be around for a long, long time. So that's the status on all the training barracks. Next slide. Of course, we got a large FORSCOM footprint here. You know, what I've stressed here is that we are a deployable platform. We got to get the 4th MEB out of here in 48 hours. And that, to me, is a big-time mission, because if something happens bad in the United States, a nuclear weapon goes off someplace and takes down a city, 4th MEB is out the door in 48 hours. We've got to get them ready. And the installation, I put that challenge on the installation, and they responded magnificently. In fact, during right after Osama bin Laden met his demise, Northcom came down there and did a no-notice, roll 4th MEB out the door. And you know what? Installation knocked it out of the park. Did a beautiful job. We got all kinds of accolades for the great support of getting 4th MEB up and out. So great job on the installation supporting them. But anyways, they got their own footprint on the south part of Post. Really, as you come away from the Starships, south of the Memorial Groves, you'll see some of the new construction, but you got the 94th Engineers that's going to be built down here, the 5th Engineers down here. You've got the MPs being built over in here, 193rd BSB being built here, and you'll start to see the 4th MEB Brigade Headquarters being built this fiscal year. So a lot of stuff happening in this particular footprint right here. And you can see first-rate facilities for the 4th MEB. Again, one of the beauties of this post, I mean, we're bigger than TRADOC. We're now FORSCOM as well. We got a deployable mission. We want to be the force projection platform of choice for our FORSCOM units on this post. And it requires different support, TRADOC units on one area and FORCECOM units on another. And then I'm really excited about the digital training facility. If you look behind the MP school, there's a brand new building going up there. It's a digital training facility. As we get ready to deploy our engineer brigades, our engineer battalions, our MP brigades and battalions, and our CBRN units, and our 4th MEB, they rarely get the training experience to properly prepare them for deployments. You know, having been a brigade commander in 2004, I got a chance to play a little bit in the warfighter down there at Fort Hood for a couple weeks, and in the span of 2 weeks, I got 1 detainee. Well, if you know anything about detainee operations, that really doesn't test your systems very well. As opposed to comparison, in 2008, I inherited 21,000 detainees. But anyways, what we want to do here is create an environment where we can reach out, and whether you're reserve, whether you're guard, whether you're active component, and you've got those organizations getting ready to ramp up to go to the box, we can push you an exercise. Or you can come to Fort Leonard Wood and play in an exercise. Battalions that are getting ready to go out on an exercise may not work for a particular brigade or organization, but they can plug into an exercise as well and give them some kind of deployment exercise prior to going and deploying. This was originally looked at to do everything on class. I want to bring it to a classified environment so we can provide as much realism for those organizations as we can, as opposed, for example, you know, if you're going to go to Iraq, you want to play in the Iraq sandbox. You don't want to play in a place that looks like Texas. So that's some of the things that we're trying to get after. But this is going to be a great, in the next year or so, when the digital training facility comes up, we get big plans for that building. Next slide. But of course, you want to know what all the other good stuff for families and families. Of course, we got the child development centers that will be coming online here in the next year or so. You've got the Recplex right by the brand new chapel that's being built here. Hopefully the go-kart track is on its way to being open so we can have folks, you know, flipping over go-karts and doing all that kind of stuff here pretty soon, right by the chapel. I think it's a great place right by the chapel so we can say prayers for those folks that get on those go-kart tracks. But of course, right around the swimming pool, the water park, a lot of good stuff going on in MWR. I'm real proud of the MWR efforts that are going on in this installation. But you've got, of course, the huge chapel, 600 seats, but you can extend to double that, about 1,200 people that can go into this particular chapel. It's a beautiful chapel that will be here. Unaccompanied enlisted personnel housing. Everybody sees it across from the PX and commissary. We've completed 2 phases of that. Getting ready to start a 3rd phase. So you start to see more houses in that area starting to go up for our single soldiers. And we're working a 4th project that we'll probably see in the FY17 time frame to add about 200 more spaces of single soldier housing. The reason why I show this one down here is that it's important that people understand we've got a great educational system around here. I am real proud of the school district around here. When Melissa and I traveled around the Army, the first thing we always ask when they get ready to send me assignment orders like, Quantock, here's 3 places you can go. Before I became a general officer, it says, Quantock, you got 1 place, so pick which way you want to go. But then in those days, I actually had a couple of choices. And one of the first questions we always ask is, what's the school district like? Well, we got a great school district. And the reason why I really talk about that a lot is because when we want our best and our brightest from all the regiments and the civilian workforce to come here to Fort Leonard Wood, we got to talk about all the great stuff off the installation. All the stuff that's going on in St. Roberts and Waynesville, all the growth in those areas. The fact that we were going to annex, they're going to annex, allowing St. Roberts and Waynesville to annex part of Fort Leonard Wood so that they come up and more businesses see the footprint of Fort Leonard Wood and the impact. See, right now, without the annexation, Fort Leonard Wood is like a transient population, and we don't get the credit for it, so it prevents some organizations and businesses to come to Fort Leonard Wood and establish businesses. So we're trying to work that piece as well. So one of the things as we start to develop Fort Leonard Wood, we also got to be cognizant that we don't kill something off the installation, because we want the off the installation to be as successful as Fort Leonard Wood is, because it is a partnership, and we are a great part of a great community outside this post. And having been at a few posts, I think we got 1 in a million right here with the great support that we get from our communities that support Fort Leonard Wood. All you have to do is look at the tornado and the response from all the communities from St. Louis across the board. that brought truckloads of stuff here to help us recover from the tornado. Now, this right here is sort of a footprint. Pretty good idea. This is sort of how we laid down the installation. Of course, the headquarters is up in this area. And of course, everybody knows about the NCO Academy up in this area. Family housing in this area. You've got this recreation plex, the rec plex. That's where we're going to put all the recreations from the dog park to all the swimming pool, the putt-putt golf, to the go-kart tracks is all in that footprint right in there. The Forces Command Unit, the MEB, is down in this area. Of course, the training areas are down in the southern area. UEPHs, all of these UEPHs are in this area. AIT in this area, all the basic training out in this area. So you can see there's a reason for our madness as we start to lay all the construction to certain areas on this post so it actually makes sense. So when you're talking about the basic training, one station unit training, it's in one location. Housing areas are in a couple of different places. And of course, one of the good things we've got with family housing is the increase. We'll add about 140 new family housing onto this installation. We had the 88 new ones, and then of course with the tornado we lost 40, and we'll get another 12 because of the equity with Pacerne Housing. So a total of 140 new housing that's going to be coming onto Fort Leonard Wood. Because the other question of education is, where am I going to live? But we have to also balance off-post versus on-post. And even though the number of residential houses is going down from about 2,400 residential housing on Fort Leonard Wood down to about 1,807, give or take one or two. So that's a decrease in number of housing, but what we're really trying to do is create quality housing on this installation. At the end of the day, it's all about quality, not so much quantity. So if you provide quality housing on the installation and quality housing off the installation, it allows people to do, have a choice. Because some folks like to get away from the post and live off the installation. My son in particular, Dad, I don't want to live on post. That's why we drive off post. So you have those kind of folks inside your formation, which is fine. Next slide. Energy. I want to talk about a second about energy and why energy is so important. Okay, we just settled a lawsuit, $23 million we paid out in a lawsuit. So the big thing that we were able to get now is one of the, with all this growth, guess what you need? You need a whole lot of electricity. So one of the great things that we were able to settle, because of the great job the JAG was, is that part of the $23 million settlement was to build the substations that will create the power that will boost us, that will power all this growth, which is a good deal. The problem is that we also settled, there's a huge increase in cost of power. 2.5 times the amount of power we're paying. So 2.5 times the amount of power we're paying. So for every time you turn on your light bulb, it's going to cost us 2.5 times that amount. That is a big deal. So if you start looking at this, you can start to see the power cost starting to go up. Now I got to tell you, one of the initiatives that we've done is that at 8 o'clock at night, 2,000 hours for the military types, we shut the computers off in our offices, automatically done. That saves $34,000 a year. Shutting off lights when not in use saves us a lot of money. And that's why we're starting to meter all the buildings. We want to get after this. So I need this. This is a community effort to get after and save energy, save electricity. Otherwise, we're going to start paying in personnel costs, because this is not, government's going to have to pay for this, and they're going to pay for this by having less brigades, brigade combat teams, by having less divisions, because they got to pay this bill one way or another, having less civilians in the workforce, because at the end of the day, they got to pay the light bill. So that's why it's a community effort to get after this. Recycle. We make about almost $1 million a year on recycle. It pays for our fireworks every year. So that's a big deal. So as you start going back and understanding this, that saving electricity does more than save money. It saves jobs. It saves force structure. It has a huge impact down the road. So I need everybody to get on. We're looking for, some alternate ways to save money. We're looking at, we've got Secretary Hammock coming down here to talk about making us one of those energy examples for installations, on different ways of sourcing energy. So we're looking at some of those alternatives to fuel things. The prime power for the prime power school is a lead silver or bronze? Gold. It's a lead gold facility, which means it almost produces as much. It's an energy conservation building. The hospital that's being built at Fort Belvoir is a LEED platinum, I think, in which, for example, the rainwater is captured by the building. That rainwater that's captured flushes the toilets. So for all the energy it uses, it replenishes at zero net cost. So that's what we're starting to look at as we look at some of these buildings that are getting built on Fort Leonard Wood. But anyways, message here is, I need your help to get after the energy piece. Last slide. So the 2 points here that I want to bring up. I want to be an Army Community of Excellence. Last time Fort Leonard Wood won the Army Community of Excellence was 1993. And we have got a great facility right here. We just don't talk enough about it. And I think we can win the Army Community of Excellence. Because when you go after these kind of awards, it pushes everybody. It raises everybody's games. Because you don't win the award by being steady state. You win the awards like that for coming up with initiatives and new ideas of doing things. That's how you win those kind of Army Community of Excellence award. And a lot of times when you win these awards, you get some money that you can actually spend on your installation, which would be nice. But anyways, at the end of the day, it's about getting the best and brightest here at Fort Leonard Wood. And you attract the best and brightest by giving them a huge quality of life where people want to come to that post. And that's what that's what my focus is here. And also, we've got great FORCECOM units that we've also got to focus our attention to, because if the balloon goes up, something bad happens in the United States, or for that matter, the world, we've got to get ready to get 4th MEB out the door. So what I want to do right now, and again, I'm not going anywhere. The Command Sergeant Major Wells and I are here to answer your questions after we get the hospital and Garrison up here to give their presentation. So without further ado, I'll bring Colonel Reagan up here.